not looking to pass. I want to move this forward. Do you believe Brock Purdy's earned the clout and the right to demand top dollar for what the Warriors want to do with this roster? He might be a better fit on this roster than Jonathan Kuminga.
Okay, but does that catapult them into the top 6? I don't know.
It might.
But I'll tell you this. If you think tweaking the All-Star game is going to fix your bigger overall product, I think he has another thing coming.
No, you might be making it worse. Let's go to the lines.
That's a good point.
Coach Hall in San Diego. Coach Hall, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Long time no talk, man.
Long time no talk. Hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, same to you guys. I just been managing my expectations. You know, I still listen to you guys every morning, and it's rare you get a 20-point game from Draymond and we lose. I mean, I think, Wiggins scored 29, almost 30. Kuminga had 20.
Coach,
so I think last night was just an anomaly, but I don't think JK is happy. I don't know if you guys saw it. Did he storm off and go to the bench? I want to say when Pods came in, I don't know what he was mad about. I mean, it could be something totally different, but it just looked like he wants to be let go, and he doesn't want to say anything, you know, to ruffle feathers. But I just think we need to quit watering dead plants. If we're really trying to win, then you got to put a team around Steph to win. Like, Draymond ruined that 2-timeline experience a long time ago. So if we're trying to win, like, I like to move with Dennis, but like, make something stick, you know, and let the players go that don't want to be here. I really think JK is over all of it. Just wanted to see if you guys, saw that storm off and what you guys think.
Well, whenever you don't get the contract extension that you're seeking, and I don't know what numbers was passed around. I'm not sure about the validity of whether it was 30, 35, 40. I have no idea. But when that doesn't get done, and you're essentially playing as a restricted free agent, and the Warriors have that option to pick up that option, but also you've heard your name rumored in trades over and over and over again this past summer. And you seen one writer say, oh, JK was involved. You see another writer say, oh, JK wasn't part of the deal. Well, which one is it? So then you get all that. And then you added the fact that this is his 4th year, and we're still trying to figure out his role. We're still trying to figure out what he is, a 3 or a 4. Hell with Moses Moody, he's hurt right now. We don't even know how good Moses Moody. I don't even know if he's good or not. I don't know. But when you bake all that into the equation with JK, yeah, as a player, as you're trying to get your career jump-started, you are going to be a little frustrated when you see your other peers starting to get run, and they're starting to be on ascending teams as well, like Franz Wagner in Orlando. Cade Cunningham in Detroit are playing better. So when you see Jalen Green in Houston, who we played with on the G League team with, you do get a little frustrated. It's understandable.
Yeah, I can see where that's definitely a plausible scenario, but you have to run your own race, you know? And given the place that he's at, there are a lot of other guys, just in general, that would love to play for the Warriors, and just on the surface. I do think he's been dealt a more difficult path to playing than a lot of the guys that you referenced. And I think that he had a bigger learning curve in terms of the sophistication of how they want to play basketball is so unique to what the Warriors want to do. There's just not a lot of teams in the league that play that way. And I think that has some negative effects, and I think it's really hurt the way Kuminga's. I also think that the coach hasn't done a lot of adjustments to put him alongside players that complement his skill set and to run sets that I think really complement what he can bring to the table.
Let's go to Oscar in Stockton. Oscar, what's happening?
What's going on with you guys, brother? Hey, you guys touched on a lot of things I was talking about. We cannot have Draymond Green on the bench to start the game off. We can't have that. We got to have Draymond start because we can't come back from a 19-point deficit against a good team. Because JK right now, defensive-wise, he's not there, man. And you know another thing, we have to start establishing more of a better rotation with our guards because Buddy Hield needs to be in with Steph, man. He has to play with Steph Curry. But you know, other than that, our defense, we didn't lost touch. We was 4th in the league, 4th coming into this.
Yeah.
And we didn't even play like that last night. But that continues on how the referees calling the game because I've been watching the Warriors play all this week in the NBA. They've been letting players play basketball. When we come to town, you can't even touch them. That's why the score was 143. They weren't missing anything, but you can't touch them. None of the games been played like that. That's almost like an all-star game. We got to have some defense involved in that. They're playing defense all week against Houston. All these teams, they've been letting teams play defense. Yesterday was like, I'm like, what's going on? You couldn't touch him. But from that point, Luka was balling. You got to give Dallas they do because they have other ball players that can shoot. if we do not have that threat. Lucky we got Schröder that can help Steph, but you can tell Steph needs more shooters around him, consistently shooters. And I want to touch on one more thing, Bonta, about the ratings. This is what the NBA, this goes on the owners. Because you know why? They always value kids that potential, 18 and one and done. And they discriminate against the college kids that stay 4 years with fundamentals that can come out and can do consistent things that the public wants to see. Consistency with the pros. In the amateur, you can be, oohs and ahs, but you got to be consistent in the pro game, and the youngsters don't have it until they get 22, 23 years old. On that point, that's why the NBA is losing, But at that point, man, you got to have a good day. But the Warriors, we still in it, baby.
Yep, no doubt. 14-11, but not right now in the juice box zone. They're in the box right now in the Western Conference, as the segment is sponsored by Golden State, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. We're going to get to the ratings a little bit later in the week. Let's get these calls out because we'll start to pivot to the 49ers because there's some juicy things happening with the team down in Santa Clara. Let's go to Jimmy in the Bayview. Jimmy, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good morning. I just wanted to say, after it was all said and done, we were surging. We were coming back. Draymond throws the alley-oop away. We have 4 turnovers. Steph had 2 open threes to keep it going, and our big money guys didn't deliver. And Schröder is really going to help. I'm ecstatic we got a player of his quality because sometimes the Warriors are too cheap to go for that, and I think we got him for a steal. And as far as the NBA, doing something to switch things up, I'd like him to see him go like to what soccer does with the out of bounds plays. Like, let's speed up the game and get it rolling. The refs tend to hold the ball.
Good point.
And let's make it a track meet. What do you guys think?
There was a play last night that I don't know what Malloy was doing, what was going on there? And I'm watching the game, and I understand that replay. I get the replay. You want to get it right. Trust me, I understand. There's big stakes, big money, but on some level, it is a television product, and there's also the flow, right? The flow of the arena, the flow of the game, the flow for the players, and it's just like there's just a stagnant point in that game, and Ed Malloy's going back and forth, and Steve Kerr's just kind of like, what are we doing?
Well, it's a good point. There was a game in Boston, I want to say a couple weeks ago. Maybe in the last week. I forget when it was. I was watching. There's about 50 seconds left. Game's about to be over. And I started doing something with Baby Chess. And she's not a baby no more, but I'll look up.
She'll always be Baby Chess.
I look up 15 minutes later, and there's like 15 seconds left. And I'm thinking, what the hell is taking so long to end this basketball game? What is going on here? So I think I don't mind replay. I said this a couple weeks ago. I don't mind replay if you get the call right. But I think Secaucus needs to take over. Secaucus out there in New Jersey. They need to take over back in the lab. Just like baseball, when the referees or official umpires, are looking, waiting for Major League Baseball at the headquarters, like, okay, Secaucus has all the technology, all the angles. They need to make this decision. And then relay to the referees, hey, this is the call on the floor. Let's go. They need to have that back there and speed this thing up. It can't be taking 4 minutes. You want to take 2 minutes here and there? Okay, fine. Especially if it's a big call.
For sure.
Some of these calls are just like, we're trying to see if the ball's going out on Quentin Grimes, and we're taking. And Ed Malloy's a joke. He's missing fouls on both ends on the floor, left and right. Guys are getting bugged right in front of him. He has no control. So the referees are at an all-time low in terms of the NBA. But also, Secaucus, New Jersey, you need to help these guys out and take over.
I would agree. And then every player wants to review every play. I'm like, Buddy Hield is literally, bro, I'm like, what? Stop. And Kuminga's doing it, and Kyle Anderson's like, no.
No, well, Kuminga does it, and the coaches don't even bat an eye. Well, it's kind of.
Look, I don't want to turn this, I didn't mean to turn this into, what are your adjustments? I think we could talk about that later on in the week. As for the Warriors right now, and I'm not trying to be definitive on this. This is not what, I'm not saying it's over. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I look at this team, and I look at Steph Curry currently, and this is going to sound like I'm putting a fork in him. I'm not doing that. I just don't think he's as good as he was just a couple of years ago. Can he still reach back and be great for long stretches? Of course.
It's nothing egregious, though. He's 36 years old. He's going to be 37 in March. But I would expect him to be as good as he was 2 years ago.
But I think when I say that, people think they're like, oh, you're saying he's done.
I wouldn't assume. I wouldn't assume.
I'm not saying he's done. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that any of the combinations of trades that I've seen rumored out there, I don't think that there's a magic bullet that puts them back in the Western Conference Finals guaranteed. I think there is a path for them to go deep into the playoffs. Even with this team, right? Even with this team, there is a path, and things are going to have to break their way. But I just think that we're all expecting some magical Durant-like acquisition that just doesn't exist.
No, I wouldn't assume that. I think our audience is a lot smarter than that. I think our audience they realize where Steph Curry's at in his career, which is why they want him to get help. And I think they also just want to see Steph Curry in a playoff series because of what we saw in the Olympic Games. If you see him in a playoff series where you have built-in days off and you can game plan for one team for 7 games, a lot of people like the chances of Steph Curry because of the gravity that he still creates at this age. So, yeah, is he the same player he was 2 years ago? I think Steph Curry will tell you, yeah, I'm not the same player I was 2 years ago, but he could still have a very that gravitational pull on the floor night in and night out because he is Stephen Curry, and teams are still doubling him. Now they're just all over him because they know the lack of shooting is around him. So if you could get some more shooting around him, if you can find that right trade that completes that starting five and completes this roster, then all of a sudden Warrior fans do believe that, hey, you get to the playoffs, you may not win a championship, but you could make some freaking noise because you do have Stephen Curry.
But I hear all that.
So, but he's not the same player, and I think he will admit that. But with that said, he's still pretty freaking good.
Oh, no, he's really good. But, like, in these hypotheticals, you trade for a Jimmy Butler. All right, he's 35, 36 years old, and he wants more money.
Yeah.
I guess as a Warrior fan, I zoom out, and I'm like, to maybe get to the second round, third round, like the Western Conference Finals, maybe? I don't think I'm sacrificing the woulda, coulda, shoulda of the youth. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that are pounding their driving wheel right now, their steering wheel. They're saying, Joe, you're a moron. You do whatever you can for Steph.
Well, who cares? Who cares about that? I
think
wouldn't.
at one point in time, I was with you. Now I'm kind of like, I'm a little too emotionally invested in Kuminga. Do I think he's a $40 million player, Kuminga? No. But I still want to like flip this card over and see what it eventually becomes.
But he may not fit with this roster. He may not fit playing next to Stephen Curry. That's fine. We don't know that yet. 100% know that. I do like the Kuminga and Steph Curry pick and roll. I do think there's a lane for them to play together alongside Schröder. So you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and AC1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app. Let's go to Tim in Raleigh, North Carolina. Tim, what's happening? Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hey, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. And Shasky, to me, you hit it right on the money. I mean, this, and guys, I think we missing the boat. This is the hypocritical stuff that nobody's catching, right? We're making this JK versus Draymond thing, right? Our coach is putting that out there. Oh, he has to be this, he has to be that. But nobody catches last night. It was GP2, Draymond and Trace on the floor together multiple times. So you can play GP2, Trace, and Draymond together, but you can't play JK, Trace, and Draymond together? Who do you want taking those open threes? You want GP2 with his 10%, or you want Kuminga, who was 2 for 3? It was GP2, Trace, and Draymond, and I think Pods and Lindsey Waters, right?
Yeah,
but when we had those guys playing together, when we had them playing together at the beginning of the season, we gave them 3 games, and we pulled the plug. But our coach is making this JK versus Draymond thing. It's hilarious.
Well,
and then at the end of the game...
Well, Tim, real quick, let me defend Kerr a little bit here. I think what he's saying is that at this stage, and I tend to agree with him, do I like JK better as a 4 or a 3? I like him better as a 4 right now. I like him playing inside out, not outside in. But he's also saying that Draymond Green is a 4, and we lose a lot defensively if he's not on the floor. So you have to pick your poison here. And Steve Kerr's a defensive-minded head coach first, even though he's got all the offensive principles. He mentioned it Saturday, our identity is defense. So that's why, and I agree with you, the lineup with TJD, GP2, and Draymond and Pods, I scratch my head because there's not a lot of shooting out there, and you got to put the ball in the basket.
But I think where Tim's going is that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I understand where Tim's
going. You play
going.
Draymond at the 4, but then you got these other weaker players. Like TJD's not really a great player right now. It's inarguable. Kuminga is their best draft pick in 5 years. Inarguable.
He is, but
by far. And so to me, like if I gave a football coach 2 great wide receivers, I wouldn't be running the wing T, right? I would adjust my system. Yeah, you got 2 4s. Figure it out.
Yeah,
I would play Dre at the 5 and just be kind of like,
no,
hey.
But you can't play Draymond at the 5. You're going to kill your best defensive player. You're going to wear this guy down.
TJD and alongside him, I'm not that much better.
Well, but offensively, you'll have a better start too. So no matter what, the ideal starting 5 was with D'Anthony Melton, Wiggins,
Yes.
Curry, Draymond, and TJD. That starting five was working well. And I think with the trade with Schröder, you're going to see Draymond Green get inserted back into the starting five alongside TJD or Looney. Don't forget about Kevon Looney alongside Andrew Wiggins.
To start the game, I agree.
And JK's going to play with Steph. He's going to play with Draymond. But defensively, like we saw the starting lineup with, and I'm not singling out Jonathan Kuminga. I'm probably one of the biggest Jonathan Kuminga fans in this region.
We agree.
However,
in that first five, yes.
However, in that first five, you saw the Minnesota game on a Friday night. That first five struggled there. It struggled defensively. So they're not setting the tone where guys are coming into the gym, getting very comfortable, hitting wide open shots, and all of a sudden you can't cut the water off and you get a team like Dallas shooting 60%. So what Steve Kerr is saying is that I got these fours. I had to figure it out, but in order to maximize JK, I have to start him. But if I do that and ship Draymond to the bench, then all of a sudden I'm losing something defensively.
No, I won't argue the
so that's what I'm saying.
I won't argue the start. But to me, if I look at the consistent, what have they lost? 8 of 11, 8 of 12?
8 of 10.
8 of 10. I would say the majority of these games have been lost in the final 6-7 minutes. Now, you could make the argument, Joe, because of the first quarter, they dug a hole. Like, I'll listen to that. But I truly believe their execution late in games. And then I pivot back to, okay, well, Steph has had the ball a lot at the end.
No doubt.
And I think that we're seeing the reality of, like, Steph slowly starting to if he was at 100, now he's at like 96, 95.
Well,
and so I'm not gonna just trade everything to double down on the old guys. I think I actually want to plant my flag on Kuminga as much as I don't love a $40 million contract for him, and I don't think he's ready just now. I'm more emotionally invested in him than whatever this.
I think you have to take the emotions out of it. It happened. These are pro sports, folks, so things are going to happen here, and something uncomfortable will happen with the Golden State Warriors later on. It could be with Paz, could be with Moody. Who the hell knows? But something will go down because I don't think this is going to be the final roster. By the way, last night the Warriors and Mavericks combined for 48 threes. That is the most in a game in NBA history. In the first half, they combined for 30 first-half threes, the most made in any half in NBA history. The Warriors and Mavs each had 23 or more assists in the first half, a first in league history dating back to 97-98 when play-by-play was first tracked. So it was an offensive explosion last night, an offensive eruption. I just wanted to use eruption. That's all.
Yeah, I just keep trying to, I've been waffled back and forth on this, and I'm going around, and I'm not in for an old man core, like one last run. Like LeBron was someone I wanted last year. I feel like that ship has sailed, and when I see the Jimmy Butler name in particular, I don't like that deal at all. I don't like that deal. I'm out on that deal. I do believe at times in life you do have to shake it up for the sake of shaking it up. I don't know if I'm necessarily there with the team currently.
Well, let me ask you this, because Steiny made a great point last week. Steiny made a great point last week. And ever since they signed Kevin Durant, Steiny's been on this one. This is his little go-to, and I subscribe to it. And I'm with him 100% on this notion that the Warriors now view themselves as if they are an LA Laker, a Boston Celtic, one of their premier teams in the league, to where they had to swing big for star power. Okay. Star power, because they understand it's not only sports, but it's also entertainment. And what do the casuals like? They love stars. We all love stars. Star player. Let's get a star. I don't necessarily think you need a star on this roster, but can you get some ancillary pieces that fit next to what you want to do with Steph and Dre? But Steiny's been on this. Ever since they signed Kevin Durant, they put themselves in that category. When you net one of the best free agents in the history of pro sports in North America, you got Tom Brady, you got Kevin Durant. They're right there. LeBron James going from Cleveland to Miami and then back to Cleveland. You are viewed on that level. So when you talk about making trades, that's something the Lakers would do. That's something the New York Knicks would do, right? Now, is it smart? That's another argument. That's another conversation. I'm with you. I personally don't want Jimmy Butler. I would understand the vision if you did bring in Jimmy Butler, another guy at the end of the game who could finish, who could get to the foul line, make his free throws, set good screens, play good perimeter defense. But I'm not willing to mortgage everything for Jimmy Butler. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. But also with this roster at 14 and 11, even with the addition of Dennis Schröder, are they good enough to get in the top six? Are they good enough to get into a playoff series?
Well, at one point in time, I thought yes, and then the last whatever month it's been. No. Something's
got to shake. Something's got to shake.
But I also don't think they're, like, for example, like adding a Cam Johnson. I don't think they're a Cam Johnson away. Now, I would still like to see them get a big. Like, if you just told me, Joe, this is the team that they have.
Cam Johnson would be a nice fit. For what the Warriors want to do with this roster, he might be a better fit on this roster than Jonathan Kuminga.
Okay, but does that catapult them into the top 6? I don't know.
It might because you can maximize Cam Johnson as a 3-and-D guy who's going to hit the wide open shot, and you can play him, next to Draymond, or you can play him next to Andrew Wiggins with his size and length. So on this roster, although JK maybe has the bigger ceiling, and he could be a far more better player than Cam Johnson, say 2 to 3 years down the road, for what Kerr is trying to do with this roster, Cam Johnson may be the better fit right now. And I'm not trying to disrespect Kuminga whatsoever. I'm not trying to do that whatsoever. But on this roster, Cam Johnson may be the better fit.
Yeah, okay. But is that enough of a difference maker? See, I don't
get
think
into the top 6, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I still have my doubts then. Because you got an older core, right? And a bunch of guys that have got to stay healthy and play synergy basketball moving forward. I still think that they have certain issues when it comes to their bigs. We'll see about Schröder. I really do like Schröder as an acquisition.
Well, think about this. If you got Steph getting doubled and he's got the gravitational pull and you got Cam Johnson wide open in the corner, you feel a lot better about him shooting a good 3-point shot than you do JK, right?
Okay, yeah, shooting threes, yes, but the game is more than just.
I understand it's more than it's more than shooting threes, but what they want to do offensively and defensively, weak side help or whatnot, and you look at the contract that he's making.
I just don't think they're good enough. Like the way that they're at, I just don't think they're good enough to be one of those teams.
I'm not trying to say Cam Johnson's going to catapult them to Western Conference contention. I'm just saying he may be a better fit with what Steve Kerr's trying to do, and that in itself could catapult them in the top 6 category. That's all I'm saying. Let's go to, and we'll pivot to the 49ers here in a second. Jay in Oakland. Jay, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? A couple points. I think you guys hit the nail on the head, man. I think when we look back in the last 3 or 4 years with this Warriors team, the big issue is roster construction. Like, if you look up and down the roster, you have so many players that game mirror each other. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like jack of all trades, a master of none. And I'm watching a game last night, and I thought to myself, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I thought to myself, what is Pod good at? You know what I mean? And yesterday was a bad game for him, but I thought to myself, what is he good at? And I think that's the issue that plagues this team for the past couple of years, is that you really don't have any guys who bring unique abilities to the roster. You have guys who, like I say, gangs kind of mirror each other. Second point, and I'm just going to switch to the Niners real quick. And Bonta, I know you're into fashion, so I'm going to ask you a fashion question.
Not really, but
have you ever saw not even a coworker, but saw somebody with a dress shirt or a tie, and you thought to yourselves, man, that's a hideous dress shirt, that's a hideous tie. I wouldn't look right rocking that. And then years later, you open your closet and you see that same tie that you thought looked weird. That's the same issue as 49ers fans, bro. We collectively laughed at the Dallas Cowboys and a contract that they gave out to Dak Prescott, and it just don't sit well with me that we might do the same thing with Brock Purdy.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't know if they will.
I'm 100%
I don't know.
with them,
I don't know if they will, though. Until it happens, I'm going to reserve judgment on that until it happens. I don't know what John Lynch and Brock Purdy are thinking. I know the owner. I know the owner came out and said he's going to reset the market, which is a huge, huge mistake. You don't do that. You don't put that out there and float it out there, because guys like us are going to come back to that quote every single month, every single week, every single day, every single year, and the agent will as well. The agent's
like, wait a minute, your owner said X, Y, and Z.
I think one thing that's happening with the Warriors is that you haven't heard much from Joe Lacob since the season started, have you? He didn't come in the studio this year.
No. What? I think he did prop up Pajemski and say he could have been a...
That was in July. And I'm saying during the season.
During the season, it's probably best to stay quiet.
He usually joins us every single year at NBC Sports Bay Area to start the season. Didn't do that this year. He's kind of laying low at the cut. He's got the beard growing out, and he's laying low at the cut. He's staying quiet.
Well,
don't leave his cooking. He makes a trade for Schröder. So he realizes that, you know what, let me sit back before I start saying, because, now guys like us are coming back around saying, somebody just, I think it was David Taylor at NBC just sent me the quote or the video of him in Summer League saying, we believe we have a future All-Star in Brandon Pajemski.
It's really hard to be an all-star.
It wasn't so long ago that there was a lot of fans who wanted Pajewski to play ahead of Klay Thompson last season. And I get it. I get where the dynamics was. But boy, what a difference 6 months to make. And I'll pull it for Pods. I like the kid, man. I really like Pods. I do. I like him personally. But emotions, you got to take away emotions. Right now, my emotions, as I take them away, and they're subsided when it comes to Pods, he's having a sophomore slump, and he's pressing. And you can see it all over his face.
Your point about emotions, I think that's what I feel like is fueling these Jimmy Butler style rumors when it comes to the Warriors. We have to do whatever we can to try to be back, with Steph, because we've only got this little window. And I, instead of being pragmatic about it, which is like, yeah, it just might not be our time right now, but we should still continue to build for the future. The best way to find a star in the NBA is to draft and develop them. Mm-hmm. That's what we all agree. But they've had a difficult time doing that. So what's the next best way? Let's try to make a trade for one. And we know that in those situations, you do have to pay a lot.
Yep.
And so I don't know how many teams are giving up the type of star that the Warrior fans or that we all believe doesn't have any of the negative flaws. They're all going to have, anyone on the block right now is coming with major risks or major flags. Either health, age, contract, there's something. Attitude, there's always an issue. Yep. There's a reason why these stars become available.
Let's go to, I'm going to play the Steve Kerr cut before I get to Leroy, because I think I'm going to lead Leroy right into something here. Here's what Steve Kerr said at practice about Kuminga at the 4.
I can tell you that JK at the 4 makes way more sense to me. If we have Draymond at the 4 and either Trace or Loon at the 5, which is, what I want to do. Draymond is at his best at the 4. He is, I think, the world's best defender. And when you put him at the 4, he can do everything. If you put him at the 5, he's got to take on a huge responsibility. You could see it the other night, having to guard Şengün the entire game down on the block. That takes a lot out of him. And then at the other end, he's the fulcrum of the offense as the 5-man in the way we play out of our delay actions. And, he's at the top. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. I think having Draymond at the 4 and either Trace or Loon at the 5 is our best bet to have a consistently good two-way team. But that's tricky because it negates some of the minutes for other guys at other positions.
So that's Steve Kerr, and I just mentioned out Joe Lacob hasn't been talking much. Well, Tim Kawakabe, Odyssey partner, Plus Minus Podcast, just released it at 7:04. Shout out to the 510 for giving me the tip here on the Comcast Business Text Line. A quick TK Show check-in with Warriors under Joe Lacob on the urgency of the season, Kuminga, Schröder, the Valkyries, and much more. So there you go. We'll be here from Uncle Joe in about an hour or two here on the Morning Roast. I love it.
It's just one of my beliefs in life is that when you're ridiculously desperate, you make really bad decisions. Just in life, right? Sometimes it works out for you. Most times it doesn't. And most times you end up regretting those things. And when I look at the truly desperate situations in sports right now, I think the desperation move would be for the Warriors to sacrifice anything that they think is the current plus the future to go get another older guy to pair alongside Steph Curry. Now, are there times where you have to take a calculated risk? Of course. I don't think they get Andrew Wiggins without taking a calculated risk. And I think that's worked out, for the most part, pretty well for them in general, if I'm looking at the totality of the acquisition. The desperation part was on the front end. Oh, my God, Durant's leaving us. We need anything back in return for Durant. And thankfully, they got, D'Angelo Russell. They tried to make it work. It didn't work. Let's pivot from that decision. I don't know if there's a pivot if you acquire a 35, 36-year-old Jimmy Butler. You're kind of all in, and then it's either the boat's going to sink or swim.
And we're not even mentioning who he is as the character. You already have Schröder, who's, can be a pest. He's got some jerk in him, which is okay. Shout out to Shelly Kim. She just had twins. Good friend of mine, went to Washington High School. She's got 3 kids now. Shelly, she's probably sleep deprived right now. But when I was struggling, trying to score dates and, and I was single, and I was like, man, why am I struggling? I'm a nice guy or whatnot. And she kind of told me, she goes, Bonta, women, I don't care what they tell you about wanting nice guys or whatnot. We like to have a little jerk in you. You got to have a little jerk in you. You got to be a little prickly at times. You got to be able to put your foot down and be an a-hole. And that's, Schröder in NBA locker rooms, from what I've heard, is he's got some a-hole in him.
So and maybe that's something.
That's something that the Warriors need, though. You need an edge. You need a guy who's going to stir the pot a little bit. You need an instigator. You can't play with a full. We hear it in football all the time. You can't have a bunch of choir boys. Hell, when the Giants won the World Series, they had guys with edge.
I mean, do you see Dre Greenlaw did in that first half? Do you think he has edge?
No,
right, absolutely.
The line is I believe Belichick and Parcells said, we want players with tremendous character, and then we want tremendous characters who can play.
Right.
As in, like,
right.
I don't care if you cross the line a little.
But can you play?
Yes.
And we can live with it because you're that great. So, Schröder, from what I hear, he's got a little jerk in him, but you know what? The guy can play. And he's always been a Minnesota Warriors, which is why I was calling him Dennis of Minutes, because I remember he was playing against Steph. Like, man, he gets Steph's issues, whether he's with Atlanta, OKC, the LA Lakers. Schröder can play. So, you add somebody with some edge here, because you don't need quite. Shelly Kim, shout out to you, man, because you helped me out. But all of a sudden, she told me to be a jerk a little bit. All of a sudden, I started being this nice guy, and I was like, wow, I'm shooting with efficiency right now.
Let's go back to what they were very desperate to get off of Wiseman, and they got GP2 back. And for that season, it didn't really work out for them. Even though whatever they got as far as they got. Like, GP2 was hurt, Yep. They did the same thing with Jordan Poole. Like, out of desperation, they moved Jordan Poole to desperately get off that money, and they got Chris Paul back for 1 year, and they lost the slot. They lost the money. They didn't get anything out of that, right? I think we can all agree it was a net loss, just in general. So, like, all the moves in desperation have been, ones that they've fallen short on.
No doubt. I do see some of the blowback on Podzo, and I'm like, damn, you guys are hard on pods out there, man.
I mean, look at Brock Purdy right now. Brock Purdy's agent comes out and tells Tom Pelissero something, and he went from everybody's favorite Christian to, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's trying to bend the Niners over.
Talked about it, even though I haven't wanted to talk about it all offseason. Brock Purdy's contract. What do you do with Brock? I want to ask you a question. At 24 years old, this is his second full season, and we know what's transpired this year with the roster. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole. We know. We've all watched the games. I'll just ask the basic question. Do you believe Brock Purdy can get better at the quarterback position with the San Francisco 49ers? Do you believe Brock Purdy can improve of what he's done so far?
What do you mean by that?
Can he get better? Can he get better? Forget the stats. Can he improve on his deep ball accuracy? Can he improve on the out routes? Can he improve with throwing the ball with steam? Can he improve on understanding what the defenses are doing to him?
Yeah,
can he improve as a player?
Yeah,
can he can he improve all around as a player?
Absolutely on the mental side. There's no doubt about it.
It's the mental side, not the physical traits.
Well, I think it's really hard to okay, like, for example, in baseball, you don't go, I throw 88, now all of a sudden I'm throwing 97.
No doubt.
Right? So, like, you can improve a little bit in terms of arm strength and be a little more accurate because you cleaned up some of your footwork. But to me, like, it's the cerebral side where you see the tremendous growth for most players at the quarterback
Can he get
position.
better there?
I would think so.
He's only 24 years old.
Don't you think that, like, Peyton and Tom Brady were better in their 30s and mentally than they were in their 20s?
It's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, so I do think he can get better there. But, like, I do also see some of the limitations, that he brings to the table. Now, when I saw the report from Tom Pelissero yesterday, and it was floating all over the internet, and everybody's losing their minds, my thing was this, and we'll get to the financial portions of it, because you know me, I love studying the money.
No, I love the money too, but I think we get too bogged down about the money, and especially when it's not our money. And I'm all for individuals trying to maximize their worth, their self-worth.
Yeah, I just want my team to be great.
Yeah,
so, I want to be able to spread the money around to have a great team. So, like, I look at it this way, like, the Niners just got, like, an L in the rain where they didn't even get into the red zone. You've had 4 of your 5 worst passer-rated performances in 4 of the last 5 games that you've played in. The Bears game is the only one that he actually looked good in. And this is by the stats. And we've had an entire offseason and year of contracts and money and this. And believe me, I understand the business element. I wake up to my quarterback. Now before the season's even concluded, he is got his agent out here leaking stuff to Pelissero that he wants to get paid top dollar. It's just, yeah, you deserve a raise, but I don't want to hear about it right now. That's where I came down on.
You know what is fascinating?
I don't want to hear about it.
I do want to hear from the folks who said, oh, Brock Purdy seems like the type of guy who's going to take a discount. And what did I say? Oh, we better put the brakes here. Business is business. Well, a lot of people thought, oh, Brock Purdy's just going to waltz on in, and hey, you know what? I know I was in the last pick of the NFL draft. Go ahead and shave something off top. Shave something off top. I'll take a little discount. No. This is not how it works. It's not how it works for him. But he's only 24 years old. 24 years old. So before we even get to the dollars and cents, because look, the money's going to be what the money's going to be. He's worth what a team says he's worth, right? Whatever contract they give him, that's what he's worth. And he believes he's worth top dollar. And when you look at the guys who are making top dollar, Brock Purdy may have an argument here. He may have an argument. But do you believe on the front end that Brock Purdy can get better at the quarterback position? He's only 24 years old. Is there any room for improvement? Let's go to Derek in Austin, Texas.
Before you go out to Derek, yes, he can mentally get better and maybe a little bit physically. But the thing that worries me, he's already had a major elbow surgery. I believe there's something going on with the shoulder currently. Guys also depreciate in the game of football. Not everyone physically gets better. Some physically get worse. And I look at Jimmy Garoppolo as an example, clearly of a guy who physically got worse and mentally got worse as the games went on. So it's not always a given that you can physically get better.
Now, Jimmy was deeper into his career, though, right?
Of course.
He was, 28?
Yeah.
27? Brock's only 24.
Okay.
Only 24. He's a young man. I'm going to keep that in perspective.
Jimmy also didn't play for a couple of years because of the Tom Brady situation.
Yeah, but he got hurt as soon as he came in.
No doubt.
Brock has showed us that he could play through injuries. He's a tough player. He's a tough SOB. He could play through. The guy came back from Tommy John. We didn't think it was possible he'd start against Pittsburgh, and he did. And he had a spectacular season. Let's go to Derek and Austin.
Yeah, but I'm still now questioning the arm right now. I don't know what's going on with the arm.
That's fair. Derek, what's happening?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I think with the Brock thing that I think Shasky, I kind of agree with you that, nobody wants to pay anybody $70 million for Brock. But the one thing I think Brock's kind of been overlooked this year is, and when people say about regression and we're not sure if we want to pay him, is he was actually throwing the deep ball pretty well over the last couple of years. He didn't do bad at it. And the regression, I think, maybe because he's actually pretty hurt. And we're just not hearing about it. It's like when Warner was hurt, we were like, oh, Warner's kind of come down after the first few weeks. And then everybody's like, well, what's happened to Warner? He must have hurt. Well, he was hurt. And I think Brock's hurt. He missed a game. They rushed him. I think he tried to get back. And I think that's kind of been the problem with his deep ball lately. As you noticed, since he's been back, Brock has not run at all. And he was running a lot earlier in the year and getting out of trouble and stuff like that. And the last thing is we all know, the offensive line's terrible.
Yes.
Terrible. So you got a guy that's probably hurt. The offensive line's horrendous. And, that's probably why a little bit of the regression and we all know about the injuries. But
Derek,
Brock,
real quick.
I think Shasky, you're a little bit tough on him.
Yeah, Derek, I'm kind of with you here. To me, the context matters. They have no Christian McCaffrey. We all baked out Christian McCaffrey playing. There's a tremendous drop-off from Jordan Mason to Christian McCaffrey. So, boom, your red zone issues are a problem, right? All of a sudden, you can't score in the red zone. You can't score touchdowns. You're settling for field goals. And last year, you're scoring touchdowns. George Kittle's missed time. Deebo Samuel's time. Deebo Samuel's not the same player. Isn't that a factor? And then, Derek, I don't know if maybe I'm the only one in this boat, but it felt like we underrated Brandon Ayuk's value to this offense and what he did for Brock Purdy. And he's the one guy who could beat press man. And what do we talk about today as we head into late December? Oh, 49ers can't beat press man coverage.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And that is true. But I think the overall thing that Shasky keeps, and when I usually agree with Shasky on a lot of things, which is crazy, that I can't believe he can't see it.
Wait.
I really do think Brock's hurt.
Derek, does that mean you disagree with me a lot?
No. But I do tend to agree with Shasky.
Here's what I would say to you.
Wow,
here's what I would say to you.
Wow, you just broke my heart.
Brock's a really good player, right? He's a really good player. And everyone keeps saying the market, and I understand the market. I want to see him stay with the Niners. He deserves a pay raise. Clearly, a big pay raise because he's making one of the lowest amounts. Even look at the backups. Look at how much he's making. He's got like the 72nd or whatever it is, the 54th highest quarterback price tag this year. So obviously, the guy deserves a tremendous amount of money, and he's going to get it. He's going to get it some way, one way or the other. the question now becomes like how much, and then how much are the guarantees, and when can you get out of it? And that's where I'm looking at. Now, you're asking me, can he get better? Now, his first 25 games, the guy threw 45 touchdowns with 11 interceptions, and they had an all-star squad around him. The last 18 games, and that's starting with the Baltimore game, and I'm telling you, I'm cherry-picking the numbers because I'm starting at one of his low points. He's got 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 7 fumbles. The team is 10-8. In the prior 25 in that he played in, they were 20-5, right? So I am.
But doesn't the context matter though? The defense is not the same as last year. The special teams is much worse. The field goal kicker's worse. You're not getting the sack totals. Your offensive line is probably worse than it was a season ago. So to me, the Baltimore game, trust me, the Baltimore game, I can't get that image out of my head. But he did bounce back and lead 2 game-winning drives and 2 game-winning or game-rallying victories in the playoffs.
When you want to get top of the market, Bonta, when you want to get top of the market, well, then you have to perform top of the market when things aren't great around you.
Well, I
think that's where I'm saying, like, this is a classic good to great conversation, which is very nuanced. No one says he stinks. He deserves to get a pay raise. He's going to get a pay raise. He's going to make a lot of money. Should he make, and I'm just going the guarantees at signing, should he make 230, which is number 1 for Deshaun Watson? No. I don't know if I'd pay anyone that. Should he make 146 guaranteed at signing, which is what Burrow got? No, I don't think so. Trevor's crummy contract, which everyone agrees is awful, at 142, which is the 3rd highest guaranteed at signing. No. Lamar's 135. No. I think he falls in somewhere between Kirk Cousins' $90 million and Lamar Jackson's 135. And if I had to guess, it would probably be slightly above Nick Bosa's $122 million guaranteed at signing.
Still a lot of coin. It's a lot of coin.
And you know what? But if you break it down and it's over a 3-year period, right?
It's not bad.
You're looking at $45 million guaranteed. $45 million guaranteed. I think he's going to slot in somewhere in that 135 guaranteed range, just behind Lamar.
Let's go to.
It's a lot of money.
Let's go to David in Denver. David, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Hey, my quick take on this, and I think the other caller, he may have been onto something. If there's some injury stuff going on, then yeah, maybe we don't know. But I do feel Brock he's earned it, man. He's earned, and I'm not talking about the specific money, but just the chance to continue to show us that he is the guy. I think 2 things are true. One is that, there has been some regression in my eyes this year, and at the same time, I think he's a guy. I think he has the character and the makeup that that he's the guy I want as a quarterback, man. Like, I guess people can always look at the shiny toy of like someone who's got some other gifts. You want that big arm, like, okay, go sign Sam Darnold or something. You know what I mean? Like, I get people think like that, but the dude's shown enough in my eyes that I want him as our quarterback. At the same time, I can say I've seen things this year that were problematic and made me kind of concerned. Now, I think context does matter. So to your point, Bonta, I think those things do matter. But I just think the guy's earned it, to give him another year. He is young. To see from this point on, we've seen the good. We've seen a little bit of bad now. Now let's see where he goes from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Let's go to BPA. BPA, what's happening?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
I've been a huge Brock guy, but sorry. Just off the heels of his performance this year and last offseason just being this sort of like embarrassingly selfish group of guys that just everybody's just, I'm going to get mine kind of mentality, which is permeated through the season. I don't want him at 60. He's not a $60 million quarterback. If there were any questions about that, this year has proven that. And wow, bad timing. Just the absolute worst timing to drop that. I almost wonder if the Niners dropped it, sort of like early on in the negotiation. And, the message being, dude, you now put a lot of pressure on yourself to ball out at the end of this year. And you've been stone cold bad for a while. So, well, yeah, it completely changes my take on it.
BPA, Isn't it hard to ball out when, and I'm not making an excuse for Brock Purdy because he does have to play better. Thursday was his worst game of the season, by far. I was there in person. I was like, wow, this guy, he's really bad today. But doesn't the weapons around you have to do something to make us like, I look at play calling, I look at offensive line play. This is why football is just not a one-man sport. This is why it drives me crazy when we do quarterback win stats and QBR. This is not all the quarterback. You need a team to really be functionable. And right now, this team's a mess.
Well, didn't a week before, Brock was, Tom Brady on steroids, according to David Lombardi.
Right? You're talking about a guy who
a week earlier.
You're talking about a guy who may have some, I don't know, some insecurity issues or whatnot. Because I don't subscribe to whatever the hell he's doing.
What are you saying, Pippy? I don't know. I want to hear what you.
That guy doesn't hold the word.
Okay,
he's not God. David Lombardi.
He was great. A week earlier, Brock was great, right? I mean, he was almost perfect.
Well, we also know that they're playing the Bears with an interim head coach and a first-time defensive play caller, and Thomas Davis being their head coach. So what did we say on the show? Brian, you listen to us. You tweet at us. You listen to the show. What did Shasky and Bonta say after the Bears game? Not much, right?
You know
what I'm saying? So I don't really care what David Lombardi has to say.
I think you said my quarterback. I think that was sort of the sentiment, but I just at this point, man, it's just the future. The future is murky for the 49ers. That's the vibe.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I think so. Like, on one hand, right, B, you can't go April 1st and we got mini camp and I don't have my quarterback.
Yeah, that's what
we can't. That I acknowledge.
I was trying to debate that Friday, saying that, hey, not even debate it, but saying. You really, like, callers are saying, well, we just play hardball. Look how that worked out this season for the 49ers.
But if he wants every single dollar, if you kind of get the sense of that from the beginning, like, I think you have to be open-minded on this one. If he wants every single dollar and he's looking to break Joe Burrow's $146 million guaranteed at signing, I'm sorry. Like, if that's the case, I want to be very specific. If that's the case, dude, go look around the league and you tell me who's giving you that. You have to do that because the worst thing you could do is pay the wrong guy. Now, that being said, everything I just went down, could you survive giving him $100+ million and it be an absolute nightmare? Yeah, actually you could, because I just see the Denver Broncos doing it right now with Bo Nix, and Bo Nix threw like a zillion picks yesterday. They're eating $85 million in dead money for Russell Wilson, and they found a way to build a team around Bo Nix, a rookie quarterback, and they've somehow bounced off the Russell Wilson money, but they did it because they drafted extremely well, and they leaned into these cheap, inexpensive players, and their play caller has been outstanding. So you can, if it is a nightmare, and you pay them $100 million, there is a template out there where you could still survive a little.
All right.
It's not, believe me, it's not the path I'm trying to go.
No, it's a very interesting
But if he wants every dollar, I do kind of look at him sideways like,
I do get blown away,
You can't sit here and say, I'm not as good this year because I don't have all my weapons, and then say, I need 26% of the cap, but, surround me with talent moving forward.
Dude,
like, those aren't congruous thoughts.
I do get blown away in sports, though, how we're so, and I'm not saying flippy-floppy or whatever, but how we're so day-to-day on things. It's fascinating to me that 3 months ago you couldn't criticize this guy. You couldn't even criticize this guy. Now it's a whole different ball game.
Well, if you buy a house and you didn't know that the roof was actually ready to collapse after one big rain,
then doesn't
that change your impression?
Well, that's your dumbass fault for buying the house.
Well, things happen. Sometimes you open up walls and there's dry rot.
That's why that's your dumbass fault. You need to be. Got to do your investigation on this stuff. Let's go to Wilbur. It's like a car. It's like a car.
Yeah, but you never bought a lemon at any point in your life?
No, that's why a car. I know people who work in dealerships, and so when I check out a car, I always send the information to people I trust and say, okay, what's the deal with this car's history?
Yeah, but you can't.
And then you get X, Y, and Z. It's like, I'm going to sell off that car.
But
it's not even Carfax. I go deep. That's not even. You got to go deeper, Spinotti. You got to go deeper.
What happens when you get hit at the intersection, like Brandon Ayuk? Like, you paid, you did your Carfax report, and then an accident just happens. Like, sometimes there are things that are out of your control.
Will and Moran, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. So one of the big things that I look for quarterbacks that deserve big paydays is efficiency. And what blows my mind about the whole Brock Purdy situation is that if you were to change the player and you put Josh Allen in Brock Purdy's shoes, it would be a surefire thing. It would be no-brainer. Obviously, we're going to pay Josh Allen. Like, what a stupid question, Will. Like, obviously, we're going to pay him. Well, what blows my mind is that Josh Allen, throughout his career, has had years where he's thrown 15 interceptions, 14 interceptions, 18 interceptions, fumbled 9 times, including that. Brock Purdy's first full year was under a thicker microscope and was nitpicked harder and didn't even come close.
Hey, Will.
To 18 turnovers total. And I'm a Ravens fan, dude. Like, I don't understand what y'all are drinking in SF. You guys have a sick player.
Dude,
like,
Will, you're cooking. I'm going to let you cook. I'm going to let you cook and finish the call. But I remember the dialogue with Josh Allen over the last couple of years. It was like, oh, he's regressed. You can't win with this guy. And now you see him, it's like, wait, maybe guys get hurt. Guys have bad games. Bad games are possible. It's possible to have a bad game. Like, it is what it is. You're not going to be perfect. Steph Curry is the greatest Warrior ever. He's not perfect. Hell, he only makes 45% of his threes. Like, that's 55% of his misses. So we'll keep cooking because I like where you're going there.
So, yeah, all I'm saying is that you guys have a great player who not only takes care of the football, but even in an injury-riddled year with himself being injured, he's still finding a way to being extremely efficient and keeping you in game.
Will, you're talking about Josh Allen very flippantly, and like I literally went down this rabbit hole yesterday because I was looking at the different notes. This is a man in a 17-game season. His averages since you get out of his rookie year, since 2019, he averages 32 and 13 with 4,300 yards passing, and that doesn't even begin to include all of the running. He has more rushing touchdowns than O.J. Simpson. Look it up. It's factual.
But I think what Will is saying, though, is that, look, Josh Allen has had down years throwing the ball. And I remember on this show last year when Brock Purdy was cooking Spadoni, you can see subscribe to this. People were so down on Josh Allen last year on the show. It was ridiculous.
Not me.
No, I said last year for that Niners team, I'm taking Brock Purdy over Josh Allen.
I was told Josh Allen may not even be able to play Shanahan's system. So I don't want to hear about Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a great player. We know that. He's one of the golden four. Joe Burrow, I call him the golden four. Lamar, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. We know those guys, they're great. Now, what's the rest of the bunch? Even Jalen Hurts, he's struggling. Philadelphia's winning games.
Yeah, but Jalen's only making, like I'm looking here, like his guarantee at signing, Jalen Hurts was $110 million, which is a lot of money. But when you rate it over 4 or 5 years, like depends on how when you do these guarantees, you can amortize the money.
His average per year is $51 million.
Well, that doesn't include the guarantees because there's opt-outs.
No, I understand the guarantees. I'm talking about AAV. 51 a year.
Yeah, but see, AAV is a misleading number. It's guarantees at signing.
No, guarantees the one. No, that I understand that. I think I schooled you on that. When you guarantee, because the agents want the big shiny headline, guaranteed money, signing bonus, highest paid player ever. But then you start breaking down the per year base contracts, and that's where a lot of guys make a lot of money per year.
I think when I look at the Niners situation, which goes back to to me, the magic number is about $130 million guaranteed. And it's over a 3-year period. And then you can get out of it after that, which is what the Tua deal is, the Goff deal, some of the contemporaries that are going to be in his price range, right? And I say to myself, front load the heck out of it so that all the guaranteed money is in the first year or two right at signing. Like Jordan Love just got a $75 million check on Thanksgiving, for example, for his new deal, which he just got. And so, there's going to be outs on this. He's going to get a pay raise. He absolutely is. But it's all about, to me, it's the guaranteed money. He is frustrated. And I feel like a lot of Niner fans feel exactly like Jerry. When he was talking about, guys on the sidelines before the games, he's not saying that you can't love your family and be all that. I just think that the overall theme is we're just not locked in. The team hasn't been locked in really all year. They're a note off. And it's not necessarily about hey, going and hugging your children or something like that during the pregame. It's deeper than that. It's the focus, the attention to detail. The game is so difficult. The margins are so razor thin that any little tiny distraction, whatever it is, it will come in to bite you.
And it has. And it has in a major way. By the way, Mike Dunleavy on Dennis Schröder, according to our very own Anthony Slater, our 95.7 Game Insider. We'll get right back to the Niners. He has an expiring $13 million deal, Dennis Schröder. And he says, we still think he has a lot of good years left in him. We'll have his bird rights, the ability to re-sign him. Hopefully, there's a relationship here longer than just a few months. And then he also mentioned, we're in a time zone here of maximizing our window for Steph and Draymond. Steve is our coach. As proven here in the first day, we could make trades. We did that. We'll continue to look at things. I want to evaluate and see, but we'll always be looking at stuff. That's Mike Dunleavy, your GM of the Golden State Warriors. Again, we're the time zone here of maximizing our window with Steph, Draymond. Steve is our coach. As proven here in the first day we could make trades, we did that. We'll continue to look at things. I want to evaluate and see, but we'll always be looking at stuff. So, like I don't think the Warriors are done dealing. They get the deal done with Schröder, which I love. I love the pickup here, but they're not done yet. They're not done yet. All right, back to Brock Purdy, the 49ers. Manny on the Dunbarton Bridge. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Good Monday morning. Man, that Jerry interview, I listened to every word that he said, and my takeaway from it was one word that he kept saying over and over and over again, and the word was standard. And I think that's what has to define this team moving forward is they have to establish what their standard is and set the standard and live up to that standard week in and week out, just like our guys from the golden era did. I wish I had time to talk about a Jerry story I had, and maybe I'll talk to you guys about it at the brewery. Moving towards Brock Purdy, I talked to the guy that picked up the phone. To me, with Brock, I was all in on the kid. When I saw him in that Miami game, I heard a caller wax nostalgic about all the quarterbacks from the J.T. O'Sullivans to the Smiths and everybody else that we had in between to Brock Purdy right now. And we're undervaluing him for what he is. But the thing of it is, fellas, is that, like I said the last time, he was a 7th-round pick. And what I would hate to do if I was the Niner organization is overvalue him, because there is such a thing as fool's gold, but all pun intended. There is a thing as fool's gold that those that went through the gold rush experience. And that is, it might be less than what it's worth, even though the shine is there. Brock Purdy's agent says that Brock expects to get paid when his time comes. Well, then, you know what? Earn the right to get paid the way you want to get paid. Set the standard for the payday that you want to get, Brock. Not the season that you're having right now. That's the one thing I'm skeptical about, because I've looked at the last 2 seasons from his coming in midway when Jimmy got hurt. He had a monster year last year. There's no doubt. But right now, his touchdowns are far from the standard that he set last year, and his interceptions are starting to creep up. So I know it's going to be still a ways away that we pay the kid, but this is going to be a make it or break it year, because his body language is so discouraging. Every time I see him make bad throws, that's not the kind of body language I want to see in my all-pro, highly paid quarterback. A few callers brought up Josh Allen not too long ago. And yeah, Josh Allen is highly criticized, but the name Josh Allen has clout behind it. He can be having bad seasons, bad games, what have you, but the name Josh Allen stands out. Brock Purdy is not at that point yet where he could say, hey, I'm Brock Purdy. I'm allowed to have bad games or bad seasons. You haven't got that clout yet, my boy.
Well,
so
he's done, hold on, Manny. Hold on. He's gone to a place Josh Allen's never been to before. Agreed.
As far as Super Bowl, but is it Brock Purdy or was it the Niners squad?
He had a lot to do with it. He had a lot to do with it, right? We can't dismiss what he did. We can't just say I don't know about that.
But simultaneously, we can't knock Josh Allen for.
I'm not knocking Josh. I'm saying, trust me, I have never knocked Josh Allen.
But to say that he's gone to a place like this, guy's lost to Patrick Mahomes every year. It feels like.
He lost to Joe Burrow too in the snow at home. Well, got smoked.
Who's also an amazing player.
He got smoked.
I'm just
saying
the team goes far doesn't necessarily mean like they play. I don't know, man.
I'm not trying to go down this road here, but we had lots of conversations about Josh Allen as Brock Purdy was lighting up the league. And there was a lot of dialogue that was just nasty towards Lamar Jackson. Trust me, the Golden Four quarterbacks in my mind, Golden Four: Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes. And then there's everybody else, right? And then there's that second tier and that third tier. Purdy may be in that second and third tier, which is okay. I think it's still good enough to win. I've seen a lot of second tier and third tier quarterbacks win. But the Golden Four right now are definitely Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes. And there's a lot of fans out here last season leading up to that Baltimore game that didn't want Lamar Jackson. They said, I'd rather have Brock Purdy than Lamar Jackson. I remember that. And it's fine.
It was also,
okay.
he was making $1 million, and then, you know how it is.
Nobody brought that up. They just brought up the play. It was like, I don't think Lamar could play the system. I'm like, please. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And I don't even want to go down that road. My question is, I want to move this forward here. Not looking to pass. I want to move this forward. Do you believe Brock Purdy's earned the clout and the right to demand top dollar? 888-957-9570. Has he done enough? Because Mehdi said he hasn't earned that clout, my boy. That's what he said. Well, has he? 888-957-9570. Has Brock Purdy earned that clout? Has he earned that clout to ask for top dollar with the 49ers? I think he has an argument. Absolutely. He's put up some great numbers. And me, when I hear Jerry saying next man up, well, that next man may not always be good. He may not always be good.
But I think
we're learning with the 49ers that, boy, and it's not like they're getting blown out of these games. With the exception of Green Bay with Brendan Allen and in Buffalo in the snow, they've been in these games. They've had leads. They've been in these football games. I do believe Purdy deserves, I don't know if it's top dollar, but he deserves a contract extension. I still think he's one of the best 8 to 10 quarterbacks in this league. But I also understand what's going on.
The line?
Me personally, to be honest with you, honestly, don't care what he gets paid. That's just me personally. I'm all for players getting their money.
Okay, as a Niner fan,
what's the structure of the contract? Are there opt-outs?
Well, is there a number
incentive
that you're
clauses?
With?
I'm comfortable with whatever he wants to get paid.
Okay,
whatever
is there a number that makes it actually really difficult for the Niners to field a team around him? Because when I look at the Dak Prescott, or let's say, moving forward, a Jared Goff type of a contract, I look at those kind of side-eyed, and part of it is like, you're making it a lot harder to build that team around you.
I don't know. What does it look around? How does it look? You're going to probably, I don't know what they're going to do with Debo. I don't know what they're going to do with Trent. Are they going to sign Aaron Banks? Charvarius Ward? You did re-signed Deommodore Lenoir. Javon Hargrave seemed like he's on the way out, and he's restructured his deal. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel a lot more comfortable with Jimmy being at quarterback than say, I don't know, you're going after Kirk Cousins. What does it look like? What are the other options?
They don't even know.
That's why I'm hesitant to label a number and a price tag.
Well, I don't think he deserves
do.
top 5 money, and like in terms of guaranteed money, I don't think he's earned top 5 money. He deserves a huge raise. He's going to get a huge raise.
What about top 10 money?
Yeah, I think he creeps somewhere in that 10 through 7 range, which is the numbers that I kind of put out there. And part of it is baked in, like to your point about, well, around him it's eroded. Well, that's why I'm not giving you top 5 money. See, that's the distinction for me. Because you are required to have, no matter what, you got to have some talent around him. Well, then we need to meet a happy medium. You get a big-time pay raise, but you're not the kind of a quarterback. Like when I pay Patrick Mahomes initially, when he was making the money he was making, 27% of the cap, baked into that is, I know that you can do it if I trade away Tyreek Hill and take 2 first-rounders and put both those guys on defense. If I'm paying Josh Allen, it's baked into, I'm saying goodbye to Stephon Diggs and another receiver that Gabe Davis, for
I honestly
example.
believe we're freaking out over nothing. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now to this morning. And the reason why I say that is because Parag Marathe, and I look back to the Jimmy deal. Sure, Jimmy became the highest paid player for a second at that position, but it was also very team-friendly with all the opt-out clauses. So I trust Parag and John Lynch to structure this deal in a way where Brock gets his money on the front end, but it also is a team-friendly deal to where they can sign other players.
How many of those do the Niners have over the last 7 years?
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo was a very team-friendly deal.
Did he live up to the billing of being the highest-paid quarterback?
No, he did not. He did not.
How about Eric Armstead's extension?
But he also after the deal, you got to a Super Bowl and you got to an NFC Championship game, and he was actually playing his best football before he got injured when Brock took over. So those are the facts.
But let's play devil's advocate and let's break down each contract. Forget the team success because they've ultimately had tremendous team success. Eric Armstead individually, was that a great deal?
Eric Armstead had some good years with the 49ers, and your run defense suffered when he wasn't on the field.
Did he live up to the money?
I think he did.
Okay,
your run defense was great.
I think Fred has lived up to the money. All right. Christian McCaffrey, has he lived up to his money? 1 year in, no. Debo Samuel, has he lived up to his money? Honestly, probably not. Nick Bosa, has he lived up?
I mean, I get it. Has he lived up to his money? You also don't go to a Super Bowl without Debo Samuel.
Sure.
You don't go back to the NFC Championship game without Deebo
That's
Samuel.
not the question.
So you're
The question is it a good bang for the buck?
You're a lot worse without Deebo Samuel than you were with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
During those contracts.
He's better than Ronnie Bells and whoever, Ricky Pearsall. I'm just asking, is he worth the 26 million
scrimmage yards? He had over 1,000 scrimmage yards last season.
Yeah, so did 47 other players.
But he had over 1,000 scrimmage yards, and he put together one iconic season alongside Chris McCaffrey.
I'm going to say he didn't.
So that's fine.
Okay,
that's
Trent, I think, lived up to the first contract extension that they gave him when he hit free agency. This one that he's currently on, not necessarily, right? George Kittle, I believe, has lived up to the contract. It's been hit and miss on these deals, and not everyone has lived up to them. So I do have a little bit of trepidation.
That's football, though. There's always going to be hit or miss in the game of football. Every team is going to go through every contract's not going to work out.
No, but
every player's not going to live up to the contract. We can't sit here and think that this is Madden or NCAA where, oh my God, I signed this guy to a player. He's going to maximize and be an all-pro every single season. These are pro sports. These are human beings. These aren't robots. So every deal, I believe, is not going to work out. That's why it's a gamble. That's why it's a gamble to give a lot of people
This is
money.
where I go. I'm not gambling $130 million if I have major questions. And so that's why there's a threshold.
You have major questions on Brock?
Yeah, yes, Bonta, we've been talking about it all year. Health, is he depreciating? There's a reason his first 25 games, 45 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. The last 18, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions.
So I guess what's real then.
I'm a little worried.
So
I think he's really good, but he wants great money, and I think that changes the equation a little.
So I think now my question is, do you think the first 25 games is an anomaly, or is the anomaly this season?
I think the first 25 games is, wow. When everything is absolutely unbelievably stacked, he is as close to perfect. When things are a tick or two off, he's not the same.
Would you say things are a tick or two off? It feels like they're a tick or 5 off this season.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
But like even last year when they had their full deck of cards after the, starting with the Baltimore game, it didn't look necessarily great. So I think that the sample at the beginning, wow, incredible, almost perfect. And then these last 18 games, I seen it with Jimmy. I seen it with Kaepernick. I seen it with lots of quarterbacks.
But let's examine this real quick. Not to cut you off. Let's examine this real quick. The Baltimore game was awful. Trust me. You should have thrown 7 picks. But the Green Bay game, Deebo did get hurt in the first quarter, right? And you hear on the receiver doc, our game plan was so catered to Deebo, so we have to adjust. He found a way to win. He found a way to win a high-level, high-stakes playoff game. You led a 24-7 comeback against the Detroit Lions in the NFC title game, for crying out loud. And you were to the Kansas City Chiefs, who has the best defense in the league, and you lose that game in overtime. Like, the context to me matters when I'm looking at these individual situations instead of looking at just numbers and stats, because I'm looking at the red zone. I'm saying, well, the red zone offense, how many times did we talk about the predictability of the play calling in the red zone? How much does Shanahan have to do with this? When you think about the red zone play calling, and we talked about the predictable first, we went through an entire exercise of looking at the first 6 games of their play calling in the red zone. What they do on first down. What do they do on second down? Did they put the team and the offense in a better position?
Where are you going?
I'm saying context matters.
So, no, but how do you feel about them if he is demanding the most guaranteed money, top 4, let's say, top 4, you're bending over and giving it to him?
I feel a lot better with him at quarterback. I don't know what the options are at quarterback. So if there's no other option at quarterback, where are you going to go? You're going to hand the keys over to Brendan Allen?
Aaron Rodgers is going to be available. Probably Kirk Cousins might be available. Who knows what happens with Sam Darnold? I'm just asking, is there a number that makes you uncomfortable? Because I think for a lot of Niner fans, there is a number that makes them uncomfortable. When I see a Josh Allen performance over the last month that we've seen from him, it's like, damn, man, that's what a $60 million quarterback looks like throwing to Mac Hollins.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right? Like
those guys.
So to me, there's levels to it. And to your point about second tier, third tier, like I slot him just outside of those top 5, 6 guys. That's why I think he'll fall in line somewhere between 6 and let's say 11 in terms of guarantees.